Hello and welcome to Transplant Garden. Today we're going to go over some of my Lagochilus inebriens seedlings. You can look here, 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 and here. We are in our experimental tent today. We're just going to talk a little bit about how I went from seed to little seedlings. Disregard this little fella. I don't know exactly what this is, but it does not seem to be Lagochilus inebriens. I'm gonna keep growing it just to get an idea of what it is and see what I accidentally grew. So my first step, I was told this was pretty important for this seed in particular, is to soak it in some gibberellic acid. I got this off Etsy. Never used it before, but this seller, who I'm not affiliated with, they gave a handy chart that went along with this little scooper. So if you're looking for a certain parts per million concentration of gibberellic acid, it gives you that information for how much water you need in relation to one scoop. I went for 250 parts per million. The seller where I bought these seeds from, he told me that he had been doing, I believe, 500, and he recommended going to 250 to see how well it would work. So that's what I did. I planted these seeds. So this guy here, and this one, they all got the gibberellic acid, whereas this guy didn't, and it still sprouted. This is another one that I planted without the gibberellic acid, as well as this guy right here. So I had a third of the untreated seeds grow, and then I had 3 out of the other 6. Well, no, my math isn't adding up. 3 out of the other 7 sprouted, and then we had this one mystery plant here. So I'm not counting that one. So it seems if you use gibberellic acid, you have about a half success rate. And I'm still having holding out hope for some of the other seeds to sprout as well. That's why I have these covered with saran wrap. I'll kind of go into that when I talk a little bit about the how I started these seeds. Yeah, so an interesting thing that I've noticed is it might just be in relation to my grow light up there, but this seed seems to be a lot lower, which tends to make me think that it's getting enough sunlight, if it will focus. That's getting a good amount of sunlight, whereas these ones are stretching a little bit more to hopefully get some sunlight. You can see just how tall they are. This one did also sprout a little bit later than the other guys, but you can see, if it'll focus, yeah, that it has the first sprout leaves and it has 2 true leaves here. And that's about the same place that these guys are at. Once I made up my gibberellic acid solution, I put the solution into this 50 milliliter centrifuge tube. I like using these because they're handy, they stand up well, they don't take very much space. If I was going to use a Tupperware or something, it would take up a lot more space than this does. So then once I filled this up with the solution, I then placed my remaining 7 Lagochilus inebriens seeds in the solution for about 24 hours. And I kept it in an area that had high traffic, so every time I went by it, then I would just give it a little shake to sort of, make sure all the surfaces were getting covered by the gibberellic acid solution. After 24 hours had passed, I put the seeds into my humidity tray. I sowed them about maybe ½ an inch below the surface. I have this substrate which is 50% cactus succulent mix, 50% sand. I generally like to use that. Lagochilus inebriens is a desert plant, so I figured it would fit in well with this sort of substrate. So I put it in this tray here, which I put in my little grow tent under this humidity dome that came with the tray. This is the VivaSun, I believe 48 cell tray. Comes with these included lights, these adjustable vents, that sort of thing. I had made sure the vents were closed. You can kind of see how it would look. I don't have any other seeds other than the ones that are in the soil right now over there, just because these seeds are pretty hard to come by, and I hope to grow some out, make some seeds, and then go over more in-depth a video of how to grow them as I'm doing it. So I'm not just talking at you guys, you're able to see what I'm seeing and what I'm doing. So once they were in here, once I saw any little bit of green, I took my tray out of the humidity dome and then put it in my grow tent under the light. And I talked about the saran wrap a little bit, if it'll focus. So I think these two sprouted first, and then I put saran wrap over the other cells so that I sort of had a mini humidity dome under over each cell that hadn't yet germinated. And then as soon as I saw any green, I took off the saran wrap from that particular cell. That's just to make sure that there's no dampening off issues, that they don't experience any root rot, that sort of thing. And now what I do when I need to see if it's time to water is I just do the toothpick test. I watered it today, so yeah, there's some substrate, some sand that came with the toothpick. So if there was no substrate or anything, I can even tell that it's a little wet. I don't know if the camera can though. If it looked dry, there we go, then I would just add a little bit of water. But you really don't want to add too much water too frequently, otherwise you'll get some root rot, fungus flies, all that sort of thing. We're at a point where they have their first leaves, and then they have a set of true leaves, the serrated leaves, and then there's a tiny little pair of next set of leaves coming out. So I'm hoping that once those next set of leaves come out, that they will start to kind of take off, and then I'll be able to repot them into something else, and then eventually get some flowers and some more seeds and be able to go over a little bit more of an in-depth guide for you guys. But that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this here, is just kind of give you a little bit of information about what I've been doing. I'm hoping once I get a little bit more experience, I'll be able to do a grow guide and hopefully help others both obtain and grow their own Lagochilus and inebriens seeds. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll get an update soon.